Hi there, and welcome to another astrology podcast video. This is Jo. Today I'm talking about the new moon in Aquarius 2025, occurring on the 29th of January at 9 degrees 51 minutes of Aquarius, so nearly 10 degrees of Aquarius. Now, just a reminder that my Patreon page is launching very soon. It's very exciting. Hopefully by the end of this week, I'll have it up. Now, these new moon and full moon videos will always be available on YouTube. And if you want a deeper dive into how to support yourself and how to interact and work through the strong astrological energies that we're moving through, or even if you just want to have an idea and a feeling of the energy frequencies that we're riding, my astrology sun season forecast videos will be available on Patreon for those who are interested and curious. And if you feel you could benefit from that understanding, go ahead and check out that Patreon when it comes live. I'll keep you abreast of any announcements. Now, moving on to this new moon we have. So first of all, what is the new moon? As always, I'll do a brief explanation of what the new moon actually is. It is when the sun and moon are conjunct. So they are traveling together in the same sign, and at the moment they meet on the same degree is the moment of the new moon. It's when the illuminated face of the moon is totally facing away from Earth. So the moon is dark from our perspective here on Earth. She then begins to grow in light again throughout her cycle, reflecting more and more of the sun's light until she reaches her peak, of course, at the full moon before decreasing in light again, heading towards that new moon to start the cycle anew. Now, this point in time is the quiet, dark, void space time where there is infinite potential. This is the creation that occurs in that womb space. And this is why we say to set an intention at the new moon, because the energies are perfect for sowing seeds for beneficial natural growth. We have the conscious light of the sun merging with the dark, unconscious energies of the moon. So this is working with your subconscious complexes and drives, your divine yin or divine feminine power merging powerfully with the light of the divine yang. And when you are consciously working with the new moon, the energies are always quite raw because it isn't diluted by or filtered through any other sign. Like I said, both the sun and the moon are in the same sign. But unlike the full moon, which can be a blatantly obvious display of energy, the new moon is more quiescent in nature, and we can feel it as more intangible or internal. And while its creation potential is very powerful, you need to be attuned with these new moon energies, to be aware of it, to be conscious of it, to be able to work with it, because it can easily pass you by, because it's a very unconscious space that the new moon interacts with. And of course, manifestation that occurs at the full moon comes from work. And this is where the work starts, at the new moon. Now, in Aquarius, with this double up of Aquarius energies with both the sun and the moon, the sign of the genius, independent rebel is potent. So here in Aquarius, because electricity and sparkiness is a key feature of Aquarius, I do get that this is the tiny spark of creation in the vast empty cosmos. This spark creates life, creates energy, creates movement, creates time itself. And this is the ignition point with Aquarius here. We do tend to get this with fire sign new moons as well, that spark of life in the darkness. So this can be a time not only of new beginnings tied in with the new moon energies, but also because Aquarius itself is about the new, the innovative, the future, the updated, the progressive. This is knowing. This is science, technology, advancement, breakthroughs. And because this is the spark point, the ignition point at the new moon here, this is the spark of something new coming. Something is changing. It is changing in a way that could not ever have been expected, because it's Aquarius. It can be a new beginning that is something different, something radical even, something unusual or rare or out of the ordinary, atypical. This is taking the less trodden path here, following your own unique heartbeat, your own unique frequency to do what you feel sparks you, something original that you can get your creative mind into. And because this is the moon, there is a need. There could be an instinct to be free because it's Aquarius. This is needing change, needing liberation, needing that spark. And I feel this could be full timeline shifts, full paradigm changeovers. You could be starting a new timeline with something here, creating a new cycle, something in date, in alignment, whole, fresh, something that matches your true authentic frequency. And because we have massive astrological shifts occurring in 2025 that will go on to continue and solidify into 2026, this new moon here at the beginning of the year, because it's ruled by Uranus, Uranus is one of the major planets undergoing part of this shift this year and the next. This new moon linked to Uranus can be the spark that lights the engine if you tune into these energies. And I suppose I can start there with Uranus because it rules Aquarius. And as I said, it's very important in this chart. Uranus is actually occupying, ironically, the only major point in this lunation chart in the element of Earth. We have a lot of air that line up there in Aquarius, of course, and Jupiter still retrograde in Gemini. We also have a lot of water, that long procession in Pisces, of course, and yes, Mars retrograde in Cancer. We have no traditional major points in fire. We have Chiron in Aries, which Chiron traditionally isn't considered a major point because he's an asteroid. That is up for debate. But the point is that we have a lot of water, a lot of air, little to no fire, and only one point in Earth, this Uranus in Taurus. So it is important that because this is technically a bowl-shaped chart with one half of this sphere occupied, led by Pluto in Aquarius at the edge, which Mercury in Aquarius has just passed over, which brought deep, profound transformation, powerful ideas to consciousness, powerful ideas to communication, because Uranus is ruling all these points lined up in Aquarius, including the new moon itself. Even though this lunation is being led in this chart configuration by Pluto, Lord of the Underworld, Pluto is still answering to Uranus, its ruler. This is partly a saving grace here because with all this air, it can be all talk, all ideas, and with this strong water here as well, it can be all flowing, feeling, sensitivities, intuition, and there can be no grounding or no direction, no action in reality with these strong elemental energies. So Uranus here in steady, tangible Taurus is helping. And yes, Uranus is the planet of change, disruption, rebellion, liberation, in the sign of steadiness, solidness, stability. And I've said before, this placement is kind of the energy of the unstoppable force meeting the immovable object. But something has to budge here, and it will be Uranus that gets its way. And this is changing values. This has been a journey of changing what you find worth in. This could be the disruption of finance and security or the liberation of these things. However you feel that this is playing out for you, this has been changing what it means to be and feel rich and abundant, and also how to get there. Most of all, this is about self-worth because it is how we love and value our own self that reflects onto how and what we value in the world. and also what makes us feel materially secure. And with Uranus here, this has all been changing. And we're at the final gasp of this in 2025 and the beginning of 2026, because Uranus will be entering Gemini this year on the 7th of July. This is big. Uranus changes signs every 7 years or so. It has an 84-year orbit through the signs, but it is here in correlating this year and next with some other big outer planet shifts. It started with Pluto last year in November 2024, permanently entering Aquarius, and it will continue on to next year with more outer planets changing signs from Earth and water into air and fire signs. And Uranus is part of this big deal in 2025. Yes, it will retrograde back into Taurus in November, but it will re-enter Gemini permanently then in 2026. So this new moon being ruled by Uranus, it is therefore tied into these bigger Uranian shifts that we're undergoing across the next 2 years because of that connection to all things Aquarius, because Uranus rules Aquarius. So what do you want to start anew, revamp, reinvent in terms of your abundance, in terms of your values and your self-worth? And Uranus at this new moon can be making your bright ideas, genius breakthroughs, paradigm shifts, sudden changes materialize into something tangible that you can work with and benefit from, because it is in Taurus. This is helping you to make your ideas practical and usable. This is helping align whatever new starts or breakthroughs you're having or changes that you're going through to align with your abundance. And your new shifts, new ideas, new changes must now align with your new unique values that you've been working through with this Uranus in Taurus journey. And if your trajectory isn't aligning with your true, authentic value system, or not aligning with what you know deep down you are worth, then this trajectory is not sustainable here with these massive shifts occurring. And your trajectory could very well collapse in on itself with Pluto in Aquarius here, bringing everything down in order for it to transform, evolve, and change into something that is freer. But you may have to learn the hard way if you're not willing to budge. And these fixed signs do not cope well with change if they aren't willing. So this could be about accepting that sometimes change works in your favor, changing your perspective here, whether you're willing to change or not, whether you're frightened of change or not, it can really work in your favor in the long term. And Taurus is about security and basic, simple, fundamental requirements to survive. So there can, of course, be resistance to what you might know deep down needs to change, but there can be a fear around it. And this is about here getting your priorities straight, managing your abundance and your wishes, and aligning the two. And this can be radical shifts. Yes, people may think you're crazy or weird or even stupid for changing so much, but ultimately, this is what frees you to be you, special, unique, weird you. That can be confronting to the Taurus parts of you, but a change of perspective here may be beneficial in seeing how abundant and rich in more ways than just materially and strong you can be in your true core values when this necessary change is embraced. And this is about evolution here. It's what Pluto in Aquarius is also giving us to learn. And I will touch on that in a moment. Now, Uranus will station direct just a few days after this lunation. So that will add momentum to these shifts that you may be consciously choosing or not. He's been sitting on the same degree for a while now because he's slowing down to a stop, and we may not gain traction until the beginning days of February when he starts moving forwards properly again. It is also important to note here that Uranus is in a supportive, grand Earth trine configuration here, with Pallas in Capricorn there at 23 degrees and the South Node in Virgo at 28 degrees. Now, I've circled these in green if you did want to look at the chart. I strongly recommend leaning into these solid, stabilizing forces because of the very airy and watery energies we have in play at the moment. So you can do this by grounding your expectations and ideas, using your practical mind to assess and think about all aspects first before putting your energy and effort into work on something with Pallas and Capricorn there. And also to this South Node in Virgo, it's lending you the discerning powers to use and to do things that are good for you health-wise. Consuming healthy foods and healthy intellectual material in terms of what is stimulating your brain. Read a book or listen to the radio or a podcast or music instead of scrolling on your phone. If you listened to my part 1 Aquarius season podcast video, which I do recommend because it has a lot of tips on managing this really potent Aquarius energy right now, and it is my last sun season forecast video available on YouTube because the rest will now be posted on Patreon. Anyway, in that podcast, I said that a screen detox or an electromagnetic detox can be specifically healthy for your mind and indeed your nervous system during Aquarius season and during this new moon with this potent, strong Aquarian energy because of that natural affinity to quantumly connect that we have in Aquarius. And the disconnect from these things can allow you to tap into more of your authentic mind naturally rather than having it constantly stimulated by an external force. The brain needs to be worked, especially with Aquarius, and we just aren't working it by scrolling. We're doing the exact opposite. So keeping your health and well-being a forefront priority can be really effective at this time with this grand trine to Uranus, who helps change and liberate. And this could be liberating some of those unhealthy habits, eating habits, sleeping habits, mental habits, what have you. And Pallas in Capricorn there, she's keeping us straight. She's keeping us straight. Now, Aquarius likes being wonky, but you can still be wonky, quirky, abstract in a healthy way. Remember too that the traditional ruler of Aquarius is Saturn, who does help discipline the mind. And this may be a beneficial flowing time to practice discipline in areas that you know need some more structure. Of course, with Capricorn, all serving your success, material gain, all serving your goals. This is about using your discerning mind, Virgo, to discipline and ground what needs grounding, and to distinguish what serves your health and well-being most during these stormy times, and to release that which is keeping you unhealthy in mind, body, emotionally, and spiritually with the North Node there in Pisces. So this grand Earth trine can be really helpful, not only to keep you earthed and to keep you from losing your head, losing your traction, but also to give traction to any ideas or things that you want to give traction to, because an idea is all very well and good, but it doesn't mean anything if you can't put it into practice. And bringing it into 3D reality can be something quite difficult for these very airy, watery energies. So I recommend leaning into this grand Earth trine here, keeping your health and your body a priority, giving some structure to what needs structure, and knowing what needs to change in terms of these things in order for you ultimately to give these ideas the lift-off that they need. So back to Pluto now, just touching on him quickly, as he has, of course, been center stage in astrology for a while now, and he is the leader of this bowl-shaped lunation chart. It's apt to mention here that even though he's technically out of orb to a conjunction to this new moon, he's actually in a grand air trine with Black Moon Lilith, true, not mean, over there in Libra, and Kuiper belt object Sedna who is retrograde in Gemini. I've circled these in yellow if you wish to have a look at the chart there. This again is another beneficial supportive aspect here with this grand trine energy again, the second grand trine that we have. This grand trine is less to do with grounding and more to do with our mentality, our ways of relating, our ways of communicating and truth, and with our evolution of these things. Interestingly, Black Moon Lilith is currently sitting very close to the super galactic center, which is situated at 2 degrees of Libra, which she will join up with shortly after this lunation because she's retrograde going backwards at the moment. This is drawing a line in the sand in your relationships, drawing a line in how you relate to people, how you relate to anything. And the supergalactic center here is making this powerful. This is a gravitational force here that a lot of things could be revolving around at the moment. This is about having boundaries because that's what Lilith teaches us, how to say no, even if it's not what people want to hear. This can be around the new changes that you're wanting to make. This is authority and empowerment in relationships, in how you relate to people. This is what feeds your overall alignment, balance, and life harmony, because that's what Libra also gives us. She's not just about relationships and partnerships. Libra gives justice, not revenge like Scorpio, not retaliation like Aries, but true, incontrovertible justice. And with Lilith, with the supergalactic center, this is almost cosmic justice and divine empowerment within relationship, even with how you are relating to yourself and how and what you are projecting or reflecting onto others or the world, or what you are allowing to be projected onto you that is not in alignment with your personal justice and equilibrium. So this is a massive empowerment now with these things, and this can be by a release of codependency here as well. I'm just getting that now, because that's one other thing that the supergalactic center can energetically teach us. It's where we're too caught up in other, too caught up in relationship, or how we could even be having a need for relationship and losing ourselves in the other. With Sedna and with Pluto involved here, this is about an ongoing evolution of humanity as a whole, because these are outer planets, outer objects that move extremely slowly. And it is significant, this new moon, because of the orb we use. It's very small with Sedna in Pluto. And Lilith, who has a very quick, very erratic orbit, just so happens to be here within that orb at the time of this lunation. That's why this is important. That's why I'm bringing it up. So this could be an evolution of relationship or ways of relating through the release or the end of something. And with Lilith, it's by drawing that line. And this may be empowerment through difficulty, because Sedna and Pluto don't give easy lessons. This is sovereignty of your own truth and empowerment through freedom that can be strongly felt at this time, even through the knowledge that it hasn't been easily gained. Sedna in myth was betrayed by all patriarchy, and Pluto in myth is a betrayer who shows you your power when your power becomes a necessity to get through something. So maybe this is because it's a grand trine, it's a beneficial energy. This could be a pat on the back energy. Look at what you've dealt with. Look at what you're dealing with, and look at how strong you are moving through it or making it through it. Look at what you are now moving towards, now transformed, now transmuted into a version of yourself that may not be perfect, may not feel whole and healed on many levels, but this is going to be a version of yourself that now knows your truth and speaks your truth and knows, most of all, I'm getting now, that you deserve to be free. Take whatever that means for you. However, being free or what you're aiming to be free from means for you. So this could be really fueling whatever new beginning you are initiating at this new moon. We have another supportive aspect here to the lunation itself. It's another trine in air sign. It is the Sun and Moon trining Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. They're at 11 degrees. So this is beneficial growth of your consciousness, along with your way of integrating information. This is very much linked into whatever new starts, new ideas you're initiating at the new moon. So this is Jupiter in Gemini has been an expansion of consciousness, an expansion of the way we gather information, growth of contacts and connections. And this is what could even be helping to facilitate anything that you are wanting to be launching at this new moon. And because Jupiter is still retrograde and is technically in its detriment in this sign, this has been about growing through the internal connections that you've been making within, even though that isn't always easy. So this has been perhaps giving you the opportunities to have these new ideas. Even if you haven't been able to fully put them into the world yet, this is learning and growth of your conscious subconscious access because of the connection to the new moon, which is that merging of yin and yang, and this new beginning, new start, new paradigm shift. This can really help expand that learning process, the information and knowledge of yourself, and also perhaps of how you fit into the collective, how you fit into your community, and whether that quote unquote fit is something loose or something very involved or that's very individual. But I feel like this new moon can be beneficial beginnings as to how you feel connected, because that is what Gemini is all about. It's the first air sign. It's the first experience we have of communicating with another, with anybody else. And this can be a positive shift in how you feel connected, yes, to yourself, because this is an internal process with the new moon, but also to the collective, to the world, groups, friends, community, what have you, because this is Aquarius. I'm just getting supportive connections that support expansion, meeting new people here, meeting like-minded people. And perhaps also this may only be an inner expansion because Jupiter is retrograde and the new moon, again, it's about that awakening process, the budding of our consciousness. It's not yet external, but this expansion within can come to reflect an expansion without in your world, in your life, in your community, okay? It may just take time for that reflection to come through. And this is certainly an opening to expansive and brilliant ideas and innovations, and probably involving other people as well. So this fresh inner innovation can be about learning and connecting more internally, and that allowing you to be able to learn about others and connect to others. Maybe not even people, maybe just information, learning new subjects. This could be anything. It's a very vast energy here, but ultimately it is beneficial, and it's very airy again. Your mind may be feeling overloaded or overwhelmed or like it's going a million miles an hour here. And that's why, again, I said it's a very good idea to do whatever you need to do to ground, to center, to still the mind. Now, one last aspect I will talk about is a bit of a trickier aspect here. We have the new moon squaring asteroid Vesta over there in Scorpio. Now, she is circled on the top right in pink, if you would like to take a look at the chart. So, Vesta in Scorpio is deep, eternal dedication. And a square, this is the requirement for growth through a realignment that is not flowing and easy like a trine. It's a bit spiky and uncomfortable. And because Vesta in Scorpio is teaching the dedication to your sacredness in Scorpio ways, which is helping you to become aware of your inner psyche and complexes, and where you may be holding tightly to or dedicating yourself to or fixated within or on some cycles and complexes that are not sacred. They are indeed perhaps even toxic. And Scorpio, as a fixed sign, paradoxically doesn't like letting go. But the myth, the ethos of Scorpio is about life, death, rebirth, regeneration. It is about release and letting go. Now, Vesta in particular as well is all about loyalty and dedication. So this can be an incredibly potently fixated energy. And so the square to this new moon, I feel, is the chink of light that breaks through into this Scorpio underworld, and maybe the light feels uncomfortable. It's a truth, and it's also the opening to freedom, and maybe you don't want it, or the fact that you know you don't want it makes you uncomfortable, or being shown what is possible if you break free from something frightens you, because Scorpio does work with our fears, remember, like its ruling planet, Pluto. And because this new moon, as a shift in perspective, a shift in consciousness, a change, a new paradigm or timeline, this new moon could be bringing up those unseen parts of you that do not want the change. And we always have free will here, of course. That's what Aquarius is all about as well. What we can choose now can empower your sacredness or potentially keep you in a cycle that is not in alignment with your power. And Vesta in Scorpio is powerful. She shows the true power of the deep creative regenerative forces within, and she shows us that dedication to and trust in this is vital for your empowerment. You have to transform your dedication and your focus here. This is shifting the cycle into something that serves your divinity, that serves your inner sacred flame. This could be any type of cycle, power struggle in a relationship, friendship, job, psychological patterning, whatever. There's an opportunity to shift this tension here if you're willing to release the old, the outdated, even the toxic, something that you're clinging on to. And you can shift this in a way that allows you to fully embody your power, embody your sacred truth, your sacred sexuality as well in Scorpio. And Vesta here is being asked to shift devotion and focus, which Scorpio finds difficult, but to shift a fixation onto what is truly sacred and in alignment with your inner flame. And Black Moon Lilith is just speaking up here. She's there in Libra, in that grand trine with Saturn in Pluto, and she does behave in similar ways to planets in Scorpio, this drawing of the line, drawing up of boundaries that reflect your sovereignty, which is feeding your ongoing evolution, growth, empowerment. This could be tied into what toxic habits or fixations or obsessive cycles you might have playing out. I'm just also getting that this could be around having a healthy sexual practice, healthy sexual habits and mindset. Take that how you will. I get that the fresh air and the light that lofty Aquarius is showing, the dark Scorpio energies here, can really be the fuel required to feed the inner flame. Air does feed fire after all. And Vesta, remember, she is the tender of the sacred flame. Scorpio is a water sign though, and these inner waters could need some movement, need some fresh air, bright light, need some cleansing. Scorpio is good at purging. Maybe this is a purging of attachments and obsessions, a purging of what you know is challenging your right to be free, challenging your right to feel the full extent of your powerful sacredness. Now, onto the tarot. I am using the Greek Goddess Tarot by Ellen Lorenzi Prince. I drew the 9 of Arrows, which correlates to the wand suit, the suit of fire. Now, the 9 of Wands traditionally tells of your perseverance, tenacity, even your valor and strength of will. It says, I'm getting again, look how far you've come. Look what you've been through. Look what you've handled and come out the other side of. Even though the journey is not quite over yet, it will be soon. The 9s tell us that the end is nigh. They are a very saturated energy of the suit because they're the culmination before the end, which is the 10s. So it's interesting that there isn't much fire in the lunation chart, as I said earlier, and this is a fire card. So this could be a reminder to remain attuned to your passion, your passions, that inner flame with the wand suit here, and also to remain firm, sovereign, and also grounded into your higher desires. So firstly, this 9 of Wands, I just want to take a side note here to say that while I was making notes for this podcast, I accidentally wrote 9 of Wands so many times instead of 9 of Wands. So this 9 of Wands could then be showing us how far our passions can take us, our desires, our inspiration and aspirations, because it's the suit of fire which rules those themes. So there's an energy here of being able to, yes, acknowledge how far you're willing to go for what you want, what you're passionate about. And also too here, there's an opportunity to be realistic as well, realistic about what is worth the fight and what is worth your energy and passion. So this new beginning, new idea, new paradigm shift of the new moon can now be aligned with what you know is worth the journey. And we can be reviewing here what baggage it's time to release. We've got Pluto and Sedna and the South Node playing into this lunation. So in this deck, Ellen Lorenzi Prince ascribed the Greek goddess Artemis to the wands suit. Artemis is the goddess of the hunt, the wild, the sacred, and the inviolable, self-determining feminine goddess energy. Can you tell that I really like her? So the 9 of Wands here is depicting the baby princess Atalanta, who was abandoned on the wild mountainside by her father to die, who desired male children. The goddess Artemis protected the baby princess Atalanta from her fate. So she grew up in the wild, raised first by a she-bear whose cubs were killed by hunters, and she then adopted Atalanta as a replacement for the cubs. And then Atalanta was raised by hunters who discovered her in the wild. So she became a huntress. She devoted herself to the goddess Artemis alone. There was a prophecy that her marriage would be her downfall, so she remained independent in the wild. She grew up physically fit, strong, capable. No man could outrun her or outhunt her. She knew how to defend herself against men who would do her harm. She's even recorded to have been the only woman Argonaut. So they were members of a crew of heroes who sailed around the world, having adventures and fulfilling quests. She is also recorded to have been barred by the leader of the Argonauts from joining them, not because of lack of skill, but because of the turmoil, basically, that she had the potential to cause amongst the males because she was female. There are different mythological, historical records. Anyway, she was eventually discovered by her father, the king, accepted by him. We don't know how she felt about this, and he proceeded to arrange a marriage for her. I think we can guess how she felt about this. So in an attempt to prevent her marriage, basically she declared that she would only marry a man who could win a race against her, who could beat her in speed, because she was positively sure that such a thing was impossible. And it was. She defeated all the men but one, who won out of trickery, and again it was because of some pretty golden apples that he used as a distraction. Now, the woman is again undone here with the involvement of apples. We have a recurring theme through my astrology podcasts, it seems. If you've been listening for a while, you know that the apple coinciding with the energies of the divine feminine being undermined and undone has been a bit of a theme here. So I'm going to go with it. Perhaps this paradigm shift at this new moon could be around the ways that you may have been allowing your sovereign self or your yin feminine self to become undermined, compromised, or undone, or the cycles around that you are no longer willing to allow. Anyway, so a man tricked Atalanta with the help of the goddess of love, Aphrodite. He won the race. They married. That's another story. They were eventually punished for having sex by being turned into lions. That's another thing. I could really go on. I'm such a mythology geek. The point of this card is that despite all the odds, this helpless, vulnerable little baby who could easily have been devoured by this massive black bear here on the mountainside, she survived. She not only survived, but thrived. She lived an extremely eventful, full life on her own terms, despite beginning life on the terms of someone else who had more power over her. So this Nine of Wands shows us that you are supported and that you are supported to succeed. Maybe you don't feel like it, but the strength of this mother bear is more ferocious than almost anything else in the wild, and this is within you. You have that ferocity, that fire, that strength, even that instinct and attentiveness to keep going. And these people in the background of this card, if you can see, they're running away from the bear. This baby feels so safe, though, so protected by the sheer power of this strong guardian. And this, again, I'm just getting could be about the Aquarian way of choosing what suits you, even if it's something that other people would recoil from. If it's right for you, it's right for you. So this beautiful bear can be teaching us here to ground into your inner support system that guides and guards you, and also to not be afraid to ask for support from others, okay? And it is necessary here to be grounded into those core fundamental values as well that Uranus in Taurus is sparking, and Pallas is aiding you to work in Capricorn. And then again, I might as well put in the third part of that South Node in Virgo, Grand Earth Trine, is just saying that you have the power to opt out of whatever you know isn't serving you, isn't serving your passion or your sovereignty, like Atalanta did when she opted out of marriage to keep her well-being in her life the way that she wanted to run it. So she also kept her independence in her daily life. Hopefully you won't be turned into a lion if you don't opt out of something that you know you should. I'm sure you'll have better luck than the characters in tragic Greek myth. I'm just getting Vesta in Scorpio, being in that cyclical complex of perhaps being obsessed or attached to something or someone, anything that is detracting from your power, even detracting from your security and safety here. Something that you might be attached to, but perhaps would have no compunction with leaving you on a mountainside to die, metaphorically. So the Nine of Wands does also tell us about how we can be hyper-focused and even obsessed with our goals. And this could be a reminder to just get that perspective on the toll that it takes and if it's worth it. And again, this is going back to that Aquarius in taking whatever path suits you best. If it's less trodden, if it's unconventional, if it's the unknown, the unexplored, if it's right for you and you know that it's worth it, follow your heart frequency and follow what is aligning with your frequency and go with that. So this is definitely about doing things on your own terms, by your own choice, no one else's. And that includes deciding to only keep working towards things that serve your well-being, serve your freedom and autonomy with Aquarius, and about releasing baggage that you don't want. Nine of Wands, only keep what you want here. So move forward with what you want, move forward with your own original desires and aspirations. This is the time to seed this at the new moon. This was another long one. Thank you if you made it this far. That's that. Thank you again for being here. I hope this was supportive and helpful. Don't forget, I welcome more comments, especially on your own viewpoints on how the astrology is playing out for you personally. Remember to check out my new Patreon page for further astrology information and guidance. And I'm hoping to have that launch very soon. I'll keep you abreast of any updates with the miniature billboarding platform, Instagram. So when you reach the turn off at the billboard, please take the time to look at that Patreon page. I promise it will be specifically tailored to be a supportive guide through these energies. So thank you very much again. Enjoy this effervescent new moon in Aquarius, and ciao for now.